You know, that kind of, to me, it seems like it's a touchy criteria because we just saw Siobhan, she was singing a standard. How original and creative can you get with something like that?
It is touchy. It is touchy. But while on one hand, we're not looking for the next door Ned Coleman or Miles Davis, on the other hand, there is a feeling that we want to hear what that person is about, as opposed to that person mimicking someone in the popular domain.
Okay. Pierre, do you see a lot of that, the mimicking? Because that would be kind of, I think, something that would be easy to kind of fall back on.
Yeah, of course. You hear lots of people, especially if they're young and early in their career, they're still very much under the influence of the people who taught them or the people they loved when they were kids. And what you're really listening for is, are they going to break out from that? Are they going to give you their own voice, their own story? You know, it's nice to hear influences, but you don't want to hear repeats of what you already have records of.
Right. Vaughn, how did you deal with that when you were submitting?
Well, we just tried to, in the shortest amount of time, get our point across. Because you don't know how long it's going to be on the air, and you just try to present yourself as genuine and honest as you can, and here it is. Hopefully it's going to be liked, and you just have to be honest with yourself, because that way you're telling the truth. That's what we are. Here it is. Hope you like it.
Yeah. Now, would it be fair to say that it's easier to judge creativity with an originality with the vocalist category as opposed to the, or no, the other way around, with the instrumentalist category as opposed to the vocalist category?
No, it's not necessarily easier. It's not necessarily easier because, you know, like I said, it all goes back to wanting to hear what that person is about. And clearly, everybody starts out, like Pierre says, under the influence of a number of people. But if you're trying to break free from that influence, using those influences to develop your own sense of the music, your own sound, that's going to come through.
Okay. How would you rank that criteria among the rest? Is that the most important, or is that kind of down there as... I mean, they're all important, but if you have to rank them...
They're all kind of equal, but that is an important criteria because you want to hear a sense of, you know, what they're about.
Okay. All right. Well, as we take this break, here is a peek at the performance of Siobhan Wright. Musicianship. Define the term, Willard.
Oh, well, you know, that term is kind of clear as far as a judging criterion because you're purely trying to determine whether this person knows his or her way around their instrument. And in the case of vocalists, whether they know how to project and sing and their tonality and those kind of issues.
All right, so this is a real technical.
This one's technical, but it's pretty clear. I mean, you can tell a sham from a learned musician.
Wow. And Pierre, you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. The problem is balancing, you know, the creativity against the musicianship, you know, and that's why you have multiple criteria. I mean, you can get somebody who's like a flawless musician, but if there's no story, then not so interesting. And that's exactly, I think, what Willard was trying to say, is these criteria are all important. Right. And obviously not all musicians will have, you know, like great chops and a great story to tell and so on. That's where the judging gets hard and personal.
Yeah, exactly. And Vaughn, when do you know that you've got it down, you've got the take that you want to send? Because it seems to me, you know, this is just me, artists are very critical of themselves.
You never really know. All you know is you can, like, all we can do is the best we can do. And you just try to get your point across as short amount of period of time as it can take it. This is me, this is true, this is what I am. But you just do the best you can. I mean, that's all can be asked of you.
Yeah. And this is a criteria where you really just can't misstep. I mean, you can't flub a note. You can't do anything. I mean, it seems to me.
Oh, that doesn't mean that.
Really?
That doesn't mean that.
Okay.
Because sometimes the flub note lends itself to a performance.
Oh, all right.
But a really gifted person, I mean, all you have to do is hear one or two, and you know there's something about them. They're special. They kind of have you in the palm of your hand right away. There's something. It's just indefinable. They have something, and there it is.
Okay, so we shouldn't let that discourage potential contenders. I mean, if they're waiting for that perfect take, that perfect piece of music, you know, if they feel confident about it, they should be concerned, but they shouldn't worry too much, because if you keep putting it off, you never will do it.
I'd go one step further, and that is, if you have a take that really gets across, where the power of what you're doing gets across, and you have a mistake in it, put that take in. Don't go for the note perfect one.
Oh,
Exactly.
Put some humanity in there.
okay. All right, very good, gentlemen. All right, well, we're going to take a break, but first, I'm Sherry Carter. Jazz Discovery is the topic of the day today. And, of course, you saw the submission tape of Chris Blizzard, our vocalist winner in 1998. And we are talking criteria here. And next on that list, cohesiveness. And I would imagine, but look at me, I'm just the moderator, I don't know. I would think that cohesiveness really important with the instrumentalists.
Well,
As vocalists?
cohesiveness is important with both instrumentalists and vocalists because it has to do with the group dynamic. And that's important with vocalists very much so because there has to be a sense that the vocalist and the instrumentalists in the band are working in concert, that they're a well-oiled machine, just the same as you're looking for amongst an instrumental ensemble, how well rehearsed they are and how much interplay there is, how much communication there is between musicians, and whether they're all on the same page.
Wow. Off the top of anybody's head, do you know, are the winners, have they been together with their respective bands or fellow musicians for a while? Do we have any submissions or winners that had only really gotten together just for Jazz Discovery?
That's hard to say unless you read the bio.
Yeah.
And we're not really privy to the bio materials when we come on the show here, so it's just up to us to kind of intuitively determine that kind of thing as we view the video, because when you're looking at a performance, you can kind of tell if musicians just met last week or if they've been working together for a while.
Okay. Pierre?
But even so, it's part of the craft of jazz that four total strangers can sit down in a group, and if they're good, they can make some magic. And so you don't hold it against people that they haven't been playing together for 2 years. If you have that sense that they can feed each other and build energy one off the other, then they rank high on cohesiveness.
Vaughn, what was your story? How long had you and your fellow...
Well, cohesiveness or direction, it's very difficult to say because if the right people are together, they're going to have strong direction and interplay immediately. This is something that somewhat cannot be rehearsed or faked. You either have it or you don't. And at least in my case, I just surrounded myself with musicians, and our spirits matched. Mm-hmm. And we were strong. We're not going to be... It's like a car trying to get someplace. If you know where you're going, you're not going to get blown off the road. If you've got strong direction, you know where you're headed, you're going to get there. And you just try to surround yourself with people that we touch each other. We share our spirits.
Now, is it easy to spot a weak link in a group?
Well, you can kind of spot a weak link, and I have to go back to what both these gentlemen have to say. Because, for example, using the car analogy that Vaughn used, if you put an improper part in the car is not going to operate properly. Mm-hmm. As Pierre said, there are instances where musicians who have never performed together can come together and be cohesive at the snap of a finger. That's just the nature of jazz. It depends on how cohesive they are together, because there are instances where wonderful musicians can come together and it doesn't work out well. Wow. In terms of the whole. The sum does not match up
to the part.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, these guys are tough, but you gotta be tough to make these decisions. And as we take this break, that the winning isn't everything. You can still get the exposure. And we are talking criteria, Jazz Discovery criteria, that is, and we are up to groovability and or swingability. And Willard, I do need to know what the distinction is.
Well, when we first started the program, swingability was stood on its own. But then, as a result of receiving so many submissions from the so-called contemporary or so-called fusion or so-called smooth jazz side, there was a need to separate those. And you just saw two examples earlier in the program. Robert Lowe Jr., for example, the guitarist who won, he was swinging really hard. And he was playing straight-ahead jazz. Whereas finger roll, it would be difficult to judge them on a swingability criterion because they were playing in a more contemporary vein.